So friends, in the event you thought Donald Trump only lost court cases in the U.S., not so. He just lost one in the U.K. Let's talk about that, because in both the U.S. and the U.K., justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, let's have some fun with this one. Before we turn to the brand new reporting by the BBC, let's set this one up. Remember the Steele Dossier? Now a dossier is just a fancy word for a file that contains a collection of information and records about a particular person. And there was a dossier on Donald Trump. It was called the Steele Dossier. This was some years ago. Now, Steele refers to Christopher Steele. Christopher Steele was a British M16 officer, an intelligence officer in the UK. He was a member of the UK's Secret Intelligence Service. He was in charge of the Russia Desk or the Russia Bureau. And essentially, that's an agency in the UK that collects human information, human intelligence from foreign sources. And you may recall that, the Steele dossier about Donald Trump was all the rage some years back. It contained, among other things, some salacious allegations about, sexual escapades. I'm not going to repeat the information. You might recall it from the reporting several years back. But some of this information kind of got dumped or leaked into the public square, and Donald Trump decided that he would bring a suit in the courts of the UK. He would sue Christopher Steele, more precisely, Mr. Steele's consulting firm called OBI, Orbis Business Intelligence. And Donald Trump brought what's called a data protection claim. Think of it as kind of a defamation suit. And Donald Trump claimed that, all this scurrilous information, allegedly false information that made its way into the public square that came from the Steele dossier caused him severe emotional distress. So he sued OBI, Christopher Steele's consulting firm. Well, let's now turn to the new reporting about this suit that Donald Trump brought against Christopher Steele's firm. This from the BBC. Headline: Donald Trump told to pay six-figure costs of firm he sued. And that article begins, Mrs. Justice Stein, that's the formal title of the judge, the justice that presided over this case in the UK, Mrs. Justice Stein threw out the case against Orbis Business Intelligence, a consultancy founded by former M16 officer Christopher Steele last month. She found that Mr. Trump's compensation claim was bound to fail. I kind of think bound to fail would be a nice title for a Donald Trump biography. That's my editorial addition. That's not in the BBC article. The article continues. The High Court was told last year that Mr. Trump was bringing a data protection claim over two memos in the dossier which claimed he had taken part in, and then I'm not going to recount the salacious details of what Donald Trump allegedly took part in St. Petersburg and in Moscow. The article continues. Mrs. Justice Stein said Orbis has estimated its costs to be more than 600,000 pounds, or around 800,000 US dollars. She said 300,000 pounds should be paid by Mr. Trump before the total costs are decided by a specialist judge. The dossier, made up of more than a dozen memos, was produced by Orbis in 2016 before Mr. Trump won the election that year to become U.S. president. It was later leaked to and published by BuzzFeed in 2017. Dismissing the claim, Mrs. Justice Stein said the mere fact that Orbis had held copies of the memos could not cause Mr. Trump distress. Orbis welcomed the ruling last month, saying, "We feel strongly that Mr. Trump brought this claim in an attempt to exact revenge on Orbis and to chill free speech." So friends, for those of you scoring at home, here in the U.S., Donald Trump lost the first E. Jean Carroll case to the tune of $5 million. Donald Trump lost the second E. Jean Carroll case to the tune of $83.3 million, and Donald Trump lost the New York fraud case to the tune of nearly $500 million. And now, over in the UK, Donald Trump lost to, it looks like perhaps the tune of more than $800,000. And here's the thing, friends. In the case in the UK, the Orbis case, the Steele Dossier case, this was a self-inflicted wound. This is a case that Donald Trump brought, Donald Trump filed. And the judge found that he was what? Bound to fail. And the judge ordered Trump to pay Orbis's costs of the entire claim. Friends, there's no two ways about it. Donald Trump and his lawyers are not very good at this litigating thing. And if they can't litigate their way out of a paper bag in civil trial after civil trial after civil trial after civil trial, that is a sign of things to come. That is some really powerful foreshadowing of just how bad he and his lawyers are likely to do in criminal case after criminal case after criminal case after criminal case when those cases finally make their way into court proper, being tried to 12 citizens sitting in that wooden box, the jury, a jury of Donald Trump's peers. No, Donald Trump will be held accountable in criminal case after criminal case. Because justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe, please stay tuned, and I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.